How to make sure your summer fragrances last on you all day and forevermore. Okay, that intro might be a bit of hyperbole, but this is an important topic. A lot of people in this season hate the fact that their fresh scents don't last a very long time. That's just chemistry for you. A lot of summer fragrances are more top note heavy. Top notes come first in the fragrance's opening and they dissipate into the air quicker. They're lighter molecules, they don't last as long. So for a fragrance like Dior Homme Cologne 2022, very citrus, top note heavy, that's not gonna last a very long time, but it's gonna be super refreshing. However, I don't think as fragrance collectors, we have to compromise. There are summer fragrances out there that are very clever in the way that they smell light, refreshing, invigorating, and yet have great longevity so you can enjoy them all day long. And for us men, that is very important. So I have 5 tips for you guys today. Let's see if you agree or disagree. Let's begin. Tip number 1, simply buy the right fragrances. This might seem like a common sense, obvious tip, but I'm just gonna say to you guys, learn what the popular, long-lasting summer scents are. Some are just legendary and known to perform, such as Light Blue Intense by Dolce&Gabbana that I'm holding here, or Rasasi Hawas Club de Nuit Intense Man Eau de Parfum. Go for something like Dior Homme Sport 2021 as well. These fragrances are just known to last a really long time. They built a reputation for that because it's not very common that you get a summertime or warm weather fragrance that lasts a really long time in lasting all day. Something like Jean-Paul Gaultier's Beau Paradise Gardens was another one that gets really good longevity appreciation also. So I will say simply get the common culprits that you know last a really long time. This is just being aware of the fragrance community, watching some online videos, and you'll know the ones that generally pop up over and over again. They'll appear on my channel as well as other people's channels as well. You'll see the ones that are very likely to perform well on your skin. However, I will say there is a simple caveat to that. Not all fragrances actually perform badly. Sometimes people say they perform badly, but they might perform better on your skin. So Montblanc Leisure Spirit for me, for example, is actually a fragrance I used to think only lasted 4 hours, but the more time I had with it, maybe, I don't know, something happened as it macerated. I feel like it's actually quite a long-lasting scent. It's very musk-based. A lot of large molecules like musks, some people go anosmia to them, they go nose blind and don't realize the fragrance is still there. So I will say there's a caveat to this. Do try fragrances on your skin first to really establish if they do last a long time. For example, Montblanc Explorer as well. A lot of people say it's not great performing, but on my friend, when I sprayed it on him, I actually gave him the bottle. He just sprayed, I think 5 sprays he told me, and I could smell it on him. I was near him all day, at least 8 hours in, he was projecting with that fragrance. So it definitely does depend on your skin type. Try fragrances out for yourself if you can. 32% of people who watch School of Scent are subscribed to us. If you guys want to see our channel grow, to really help us out, click subscribe. Let's get that number to 40%. Thank you. Tip number 2 is check Fragrantica. So I'm holding here Memoirs of a Perfume Collector, Tales from Zanzibar. Most of you think that's just a bunch of words. You don't know what this fragrance is. So this is another tip. Okay, let's say you've gotten the usual culprits, the really long-lasting stuff, and now you want to explore new stuff online. A very common sense approach, again, might be a very obvious tip, is to go on Fragrantica and check. Fragrantica is a great tool for seeing, first of all, which fragrance seasons a particular release fits into. So this, for example, does fit into spring and summer. And then you will see also the notes to see if you like the fragrance, the rating, if people actually enjoy the fragrance as well. And then lastly, it's longevity and projection you want to look at. So this fragrance, I'm pretty sure has a good long-lasting rating on Fragrantica. And that gives you a dead giveaway as to whether or not you should buy a fragrance or go check it out at the very least. Tip number 3 is go for the right notes. So I'm holding Terre here, the Eau de Toilette, which traditionally has always been a very long-lasting scent. Some people say the reformulations has ruined that, so actually I can't confirm that, but generally fragrances with certain notes will perform well. So Terre is a vetiver-based scent. This is a very long-lasting bass, grassy, woody note that does last a really long time. Vetiver-based perfumes are generally good to last for a long time. So something like Encre Noire Sport has pretty good longevity, vetiver-based, as well as grey vetiver. Other notes include very strong musks, so I would say Club de Nuit Intense Man Eau de Parfum is a strong musky based scent. Ambergris is a very long lasting base note as well. That is marine-like, animalic, musky, lasts a very long time, and that's included in things like Green Irish Tweed by Creed. Other notes as well include oud, which we saw in Tales from Zanzibar. That's going to last a very long time. And finally, another classic base note is Tonka Bean, which is in Le Beau Paradise Garden, as I mentioned, as well as Chanel's Allure Homme Sport Eau Extrême, which are two long-lasting summer freshies, in my opinion. So if you see certain notes and you see that they're prominent in a fragrance DNA, be more reassured that they're probably more likely to be better performing. Tip number 4 is simply Molecule 02. So Escentric Molecules have made Molecule 01. That's probably their most famous fragrance, which is Pure Isoe Super. I actually recommend Molecule 02 instead. So how these molecule-based fragrances work is that they're single molecules that you use as a base layer. You spray them first on your skin before you apply another fragrance on top to boost the longevity of that said second fragrance. Isoe Super is traditionally used because a lot of people see that as a base note that is very easy to love, not too impactful on the scent profile, so it doesn't change the other fragrance too much. However, I will say, ever since the introduction of Dior's Fahrenheit Eau de Toilette, Isoe Super is such a common molecule in perfumery. Pretty much most fragrances have high doses of Isoe Super anyways, but not necessarily all fragrances have a high dosage of ambroxan, which is what Molecule 02 is. So you're actually more likely to have an actual impactful effect from Molecule 02. I found that it usually increases longevity by around 2 hours, but of course, if you're using a summer-based fragrance that already has a large amount of ambroxan in it, such as Bvlgari's Tygar or the Cologne Black Panther, which I always recommend, or a fragrance like Bond No. 9 Lafayette Street, as well as also ambroxan based, or Percival. Okay, yes, if they have ambroxan in them already, then skip this, but for the most part, I would say Molecule 02 is a great longevity booster and it doesn't affect the scent profile too much. Again, ambroxan is kind of meant to replicate ambergris, so it's gonna have that musky marine animalic nuance to it. It's very musky based, so again, a large molecule. How much it's going to affect the scent profile will depend on your nose. How easily does your nose detect ambroxan? Does it go nose blind? If that's the case, then it won't be affected by this base layer, in my opinion, not too much. Tip number 5, spray on your clothes. So this is a simple application recommendation in general. You know, with summer fragrances that are very light, like Versace Pour Homme, or even more light as Mugler, Cologne come together, you can really overspray, go as many sprays as you want most of the time. Maybe not too crazy, but you can go heavy on the trigger. And there are some fragrances like Prada L'Homme that are usually seen as average performers. I get maybe 6 hours. If you really want to get an all-day longevity out of it, spray on your clothes. Clothing doesn't project fragrances as much as skin does, but on skin, fragrances usually last in the hours range, whilst on clothing, they last in the days range. And some really potent fragrances can last weeks or even months on your clothing, just because they get stuck in the clothing fabric a lot more easily. So clothing is definitely there for boosting longevity. This is a very simple, again, might be a common sense tip for some of you, but for those of you who don't do this, you might consider adding this to your routine. And then a bonus tip, number 6, I'm going to throw this in here. This is a disclaimer, similar to what I was saying before. You might be anosmic to a certain fragrance, and some fragrances that don't perform well on others might perform well on yourself. So at the end of the day, you kind of have to experiment with a lot of other fragrances, especially if you really like a scent DNA, you want to give it another chance. Try sampling fragrances yourself, but also sometimes you are going nose blind, just try spraying less. You actually find that your nose doesn't get tired and can actually detect a fragrance longer throughout the day. And that concludes this video, guys. Those are my 5+1 tips for making sure you have infinite longevity on your summer fragrance. Okay, not infinite, let's not exaggerate again, but hopefully this video did give you guys some useful tips. I know some of them might be common sense or basic for some of you, but I'm trying to speak to a wider audience here, guys. So do you agree or disagree with the tips I've given today, guys? Are there any other tips you'd want to share, you want to submit in the comments down below, perhaps? Let us know, guys. And if you guys enjoyed this video, make sure to check out our previous tutorial video that we did recently. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.